Okay, we want to welcome you out tonight as we talk about preparing our 11-year-olds to go to the temple and what we can do as consultants to assist the families of our 11-year-olds so that this can be a wonderful experience for each of them. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm trying to hide the floating panel. There we go. So what we're going to talk about is this unique group of people that we have in our units, and most of our units. I think most of our units are family units, and the family units all have these 11-year-olds that are eligible to attend the temple coming in January. And this is why we wanted to have this presentation this month, so that it might be of some value to you in your units before the children are advanced into young men and young women in January. We're going to talk a little bit about the church guidelines and recommendations from Salt Lake associated with the preparation of 11-year-olds. And we're going to try to provide some ideas both for parents and as consultants for what we can do to assist parents. So this would be a kind of a fun presentation, I think. It's interesting, as I went back and looked at it, it's been 5 years now since the first presidency announced that they were going to change things up and start having the 11-year-olds be advanced all at the beginning of the year to young men, young women, and the young men would be ordained to the priesthood at the beginning of the year, and they didn't have to wait for age 12. And so that was a major thing. I think most of us remember that day. I didn't realize it'd been 5 years coming this January that started. When this happened, it was interesting the comments that were made by some of our general leaders. Sister Corden, who was at that time the General Young Women's president, said, "These youth, the 11-year-olds, have a mighty work to do in the temple, a work that can begin as soon as they enter young men and young women." And that's one of the things we want to make sure that all of our youth who can and are willing can get to the temple as soon as possible after they turn 11, and not let that be delayed or fail to encourage them or fail to include them. But this shows you the level of concern and care that our leaders have for these 11-year-olds. Sister Joy Jones, who was the primary general president at the time, said she was particularly excited that these changes will make it possible for younger children to be involved in temple work. And like she said, they were typically counting the days until they turned 12. They didn't have to do that anymore to get that limited use recommend, because as soon as January 1st comes along, they'll be able to get that recommend and start attending the temple. Okay. The handbook of instructions, very clear, and I want to make sure we're very clear on this, that the parents have the primary responsibility to help their children prepare to receive temple ordinances. Okay, it's not our job. And stake and ward leaders, ministering brothers and sisters, extended family members, and even ward temple and family history leaders, ward temple and family history consultants, stake temple and family history consultants can also help in preparing these children and assist. And what we want to do is to make sure that we stay in our place, and what we do is approach the parents and say, we're here as a resource, and here are some ideas we can offer you, knowing that some of these children, their parents don't need help, They know exactly what to do, but knowing also there's going to be a lot of parents who don't really know what they can do to help their child, and nobody's ever approached them. This is where we can be of a great value to them. Okay. One of the things the church has done is they've made a change. They used to have a priesthood preview, and now they've included the temple in this and call it temple and priesthood preparation meeting. Our ward just held this for the Valiant 10 class. And if it's any indication of a typical ward, our ward has, I believe it's 8 children in the Valiant 10 class. 4 of the 8 attended the temple and priesthood preparation meeting. The other 4 didn't even come. And in our ward, most of these children are active. I think probably maybe 2 of them weren't active and the other 2 just didn't show up. That's very typical. And I think that kind of helps us to understand the dynamic here, that everything's not perfect in every home. And what we can do is help strengthen their homes by offering help and assistance. And so, think about that. Find out from your primary presidents how that meeting went, or from your bishopric, because they were there and they were in charge of it. And so they should be able to help let you know how it went and who didn't attend that may really need to be focused on, things like that. Okay, preparing to attend the temple brings youth blessings. This is what's so important. I keep thinking back when they first started really pushing Find, Take, Teach and things like this with New Dot Family Search, and then with the Family Tree when it was first introduced. Elder Bednar had a little video, and I'll never forget the little comment he made where he said, I no longer ask young men or young women if they are worthy to go on a mission. He says, what I ask them is, are you worthy to attend the temple? Because really it's the same thing, but it focuses them on where they need to be focused at first, which is getting in the temple so that they can feel the blessings of being there. And so after a child's baptized, there's a preparation time period there from 8 to 11, and from 11 on up until they're 18 or 20, where they're learning a lot. It includes the temple and where they fit into the church. And so we can prepare children for temple service by helping them see that keeping that baptismal covenant is so important, because it's a protection, and it helps them to be worthy to enter the house of the Lord when they become 11. We can help them to understand that there are real blessings that await children as they prepare for temple service. They can know without a question that they're sons and daughters of God. They can be reminded of why they're here. They can feel Heavenly Father's love for them. They can have a desire to obey His will. And they'll be able to resist sin as they keep their eyes and their hearts focused on the Savior and on His house. And so, what we're talking about is children are focused on wanting to be worthy so they can go to the temple. This helps reinforce these ideas, thoughts, understandings, and behaviors that we want them to be able to have. And lastly, that they can be nourished every step of the way by their covenants as they progress along the covenant path. They need to understand from an early age that baptism was the first step in a series of covenants that they need to take to be able to return to their Father in heaven. Okay, so some tips for parents. remembering that this is a home-centered, church-supported program in the church. We have a lot of wonderful opportunities to engage children in family history work long before they can actually take names to the temple. And so these were tips that were put out by the primary presidency. And we'll see the quote where this came from. Some ideas for families to better prepare their child. And you could take this slide and reproduce it and pass it around if you want this. That's kind of why I prepared it the way it is. One of the first things is to teach children about the sacredness of the house of the Lord. Actually really teach them and show them. We'll talk about some things that are available to use as tools to help with this. After baptism, help boys and girls understand their opportunities to participate in the work of salvation and why it's important to perform baptisms for those waiting on the other side of the veil. One of my granddaughters, her mother decided when she was working in Young Women that her daughter, even though she was only about 9 at the time, she got her an account. And my granddaughter started submitting names. She couldn't do them, but she started submitting names. And then my daughter-in-law's young women's class were taking them to the temple and doing them. But she already had that idea that she could take and submit names, submit people to the temple for their baptism work, even before she was old enough to go. Teach your children that what they need to do and how to live worthily to receive that limited use recommend. Talk about it. And then build excitement about family history. Teach your children how to use FamilySearch.org. See, here's where problems start occurring. Many of our parents don't know how to do this and how to find and prepare and take ancestors' names to the temple. Even just using ordinances ready, many of our parents are not familiar with this. This is where we can be such a help to them and help them learn about their ancestors, especially using memories. And then parents can set an example by attending the temple and setting a date for the child's first temple trip. Make it a big deal, as big a deal as you make for setting a baptism date and things like that. And visit the temple grounds often. Now, we're lucky because most of us, it's not that long a trip to get to the temple, but every chance you can, take the child to the temple and walk the grounds and talk about the temple and how sacred it is and how important it is. And then watch temple videos. There's a lot of temple videos, and we'll show you a link tonight where you can find those. This came out of a church news article back in 2019 that was published by the Primary General Presidency called 7 Tips for Preparing Primary Children for Their First Temple Experience. Now, for us as consultants, remembering that we're supporting the parents, and that's all we're doing is supporting them, not supplanting them. One of the first things that needs to be done is your ward temple and family history leader, if you have one, or your elders quorum counselor probably should get a list of those primary children that are in that Valiant 10 class so that you have something to work from. Contact the parents of these children and offer service to them, helping them prepare their child. Just call them up and say, I'm a temple and family history consultant. I've been asked by the ward to contact you and just see if there's anything we can do, and then offer some suggestions like that you could come and help them set up an account for the child on FamilySearch.org. Because it's really, really important that these kids get a chance to actually submit the name themselves, that they have a card that has their name on there as the submitter, so that they start feeling ownership in what's going on here. Is one thing to just hand them a card and say, here, go do this. It's a totally different experience to walk them through the process and have them actually produce that card, print it, and see their own name on that card. But that takes some preparation. In many families, they have no idea how to do this. And by helping the child, you're going to be helping the whole family learn how to do this. Offer to teach the child and other family members how to find names and submit them for temple work. Now, that's at the hard level, but you can also offer to show them how to use ordinances ready. And the brethren have said this is absolutely fine with them to use ordinances ready. We need to kind of be a little bit cautious and look at the names and review them a little bit, make sure that they're really legit, that they're okay, that they're not don't have some issues involved with them, things like that, like we would do with anybody that comes in to one of our centers and wants to use ordinances ready, or anybody you meet at church that wants to use it. But ordinances ready is an absolutely okay way to help these kids get these names. And down the road, hopefully, they'll eventually get to where they will say, gee, I'd like to look in my tree and see if I can actually find people. Demonstrate how to use memories in tree and help the parents help the children learn about their ancestors, to see their pictures, to hear their stories, to see documents that they're named on, to just see the people in tree itself. Because most of our young children really don't know much about their ancestors. And then introduce the parents to 8 in-home activities that are found on Family Search. This is from many years ago that Family Search put together these in-home activities that were found on the link on the home page in Family Search. They're still very good. There's a whole section of them that was designed for, in those days, the 12-year-olds who were being able to go to the temple for the first time. So now it's for the 11-year-olds as they prepare to go to the temple for the first time. And so we can find those when we go on Family Search and go to activities. And then at the very bottom of the list are the in-home activities. And in there's a section. There's like 30 activities on that page. And they're all short, simple things that could be used in home evenings or just used when you want to have some fun with your child and you don't want to have to spend a lot of time, and they're all prepared for you. And these are in addition to the activities that you see on the drop-down, like where am I from, my surname origin, all about me, famous relatives, compare a face, record my story, picture my heritage. Those are all great activities too, but we want to focus tonight just on the little group that are for preparing 11-year-olds to go to the temple, because this is what these were made for. So when you click on that link for the in-home activities, you go to a section that says the temple. And these are all designed as short little lessons, short little activities that you can do over a period of time with your child to prepare them so that they can attend the temple. The first one's ask a friend. Identify some friend in the church that your child knows who's been to the temple so that they can interview that child and find out what it was like when they went, so they can help demystify what's going to happen. There's nothing better than to have a friend telling them what the trip was like and what the experience was like. Another activity is to go visit the temple. Make that one of your home evenings. Another one is to plan. Take some time on one of your home evenings and actually set a date to go. Or find out what the date is that the class is made to go to the temple. Because hopefully the class has planned something for early in the year. Pray to find these people or pray about them. If nothing else, if you're going to use Ordinances Ready, it's not going to be hard to find them because you're just going to click on the Ordinances Ready program, and it will pretty well provide the names. Pray to know about these people. Pray to know that they care about you. The whole idea is this starts to build that general feeling that you want the child to have, that they're a part of a other side of the veil experience here, where you're helping actual people who have lived before them, who are their ancestors, who are partly responsible for why they're here, and showing them that you care about them and developing that connection with them so that they can touch your life. And then prepare the family names for the temple, whether that's through research or using Ordinances Ready. That could be a short activity. None of these things take a long time. Another one is getting ready, unplug. I thought this was great. I mean, even though these children are 11, many of them are already so plugged into their devices that it's hard to feel the spirit. And so there's a short lesson here where you can talk about the children and maybe try to encourage them for a period of time before they go to the temple the first time to unplug from these devices so that they get a chance to, desensitize themselves to all this stuff that they're feeding into their brains and all the chance that they have when they have free time so that they can feel the spirit. And then be baptized for an ancestor. And remember, you've got the cards, and the cards have your name on them. Take a picture of your child with their first cards that they've taken to the temple with their ancestors' names on them so that they have a remembrance of it. And then the last one is remembering my temple experience. After it's over, have them record. Memories, you can record an audio record of what happened when you went to the temple. Think about that. You have a child at 11 who records this first visit to the temple, and then 50 years later, they can still hear what it was like when they went to the temple for the first time. Boy, I wish I had something like that. And you're going to find when we have Roots Tech this year, and they unveiled the new shared family group program that they're going to be unveiling, that part of the temple section of that, in addition to having the shared names that we can pick from and things like that, are going to be a series of click-on links where you can record, like, my first time at the temple, or my most sacred moment at the temple, and things like this. And it's going to be built right in there where they can record it, and it will automatically be saved for that group so the whole family can always be able to refer back to that experience. So these are great activities. Now, that's not all that there is. There are some other suggested resources. One of them is the Friend from back in October of 2021. The Friend magazine, which you can get online. All you really have to do is Google Friend magazine October 2021, and it'll take you to the link. But they had, I can't say the whole magazine is on preparing 11-year-olds to go to the temple, but there are a whole series of articles in that magazine on that topic of preparing children for the temple. I just clipped 3 of the articles. One that talked about the temple countdown and what you could do to prepare a little visual for that. One on getting the temple recommended. It talked about the steps you go through, what the questions are. And Ready for the Temple, an article, it was a little short article about a girl who's preparing to go to, or a boy that's preparing to go to the temple. Then another one is the November of 2021 Friend magazine, where they focused on family history. And they had a short article on family history blessings. interviewing a family member to find out about them, what their life was like, and another article from a young lady about their waiting for me. Those were just 3 examples of articles that were in that magazine. So there's another great resource for parents as they prepare their children. And the third one that was offered to us was one on temple videos. Now, this is a huge site. I mean, they have all kinds of links, including how to do how to make a reservation, find your temple, and all those kind of things, down to different kinds of videos. And there's a section called About Temples. This is just one small section. And this is only one little part of the videos that are in that section. But there's little videos here that you could show in home evenings, like families in the temple. Or here's a perfect one for the 11-year-olds getting ready for temple baptisms. Ideas to prepare your child for temple baptisms and confirmations. There's a visit of the Washington, D.C. temple, a 360-degree virtual tour, so the kids can see inside the Washington, D.C. temple. Then there's another one that was a guided tour of the same temple. There's another one called Inside Temples, where you see pictures and they explain. There's all kinds of videos that the church has put together. Most of them are short, easy to use, make great family home evening activities. So, in conclusion, here's the bottom line. Some 11-year-olds may not need any help. They're going to be fully ready. Their parents know exactly what needs to be done to get them ready for the temple. What we're concerned about is making sure that there's nobody that falls through the cracks, not tracks, but cracks. Okay, attending the temple and making and keeping covenants, receiving the temple is the heart of everything we do in the church. Absolutely everything we do leads to the temple. And in this case, it's for 11-year-olds, so that after they're baptized, they can continue on the covenant path to the temple, and that leads through the baptism font as they begin to do ordinances for their ancestors and providing these blessings to those on the other side of the veil that are in their family. And then ultimately this will lead to their own endowment and sealings and the rest of the ordinances that are found in the temple. But that covenant path starts by having them attend the temple on a regular basis as a youth, so that they get comfortable, they have great experiences there, and they want more in their life. May you be blessed as you think about these things and go out and look at the people in your ward and talk with them. May you be blessed to find those that might fall through the cracks and help them to have these experiences so that no children in your ward fail to have the blessings of the temple in their life as they turn 11 and begin to have opportunities to go. That's my prayer. And I say in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Any questions? Comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. So what
Yeah.
I did, Bob, is I set